Welcome to the Swedish Defence University. In this webinar, we will be speaking about the master's program on politics, security, and war. And with us today, we have Maja Krasnova, a student for the program, and Associate Professor Chiara Ruffa, and Director of the program. So this master's program has two tracks, Political Science Studies and War Studies. Could you tell me a bit more about them?
Yes, so this is really a master program that has these two different sols, right? So the first one is about political science, so it has a very clear orientation on security studies and crisis. And then there is a second track which focuses more on war studies, both in terms of the use of force and in terms of how military organizations are organized.
Mm-hmm. And what is your track, Maya?
So I'm doing the war track for this master's program. I'm currently in my second year. As the program goes, probably the main difference between the two is the fact that our track is mostly concentrated on the military theory and strategies, whereas, as Chiara previously said, the political track is mainly concentrated on the security issues. The program does look alike, except the first year of studying. So the first year, basically, we have obligatory courses, but we also have elective courses where we can choose rather political or more war studies track.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And if we start with political science, the political science track, how does this program differ from other programs in political science in Sweden and abroad?
So it's actually a really interesting question. I think that unlike many other master programs in political science in Swedish universities, our master program provides a much more kind of specialized knowledge, really focusing on issues relating to security, very broadly conceived. And so it has this really special nature that is really unique in the Swedish landscape. That we don't really see in any other, much more, great, but much more general master program in Sweden. Abroad, I think we are also, in comparison to other master's program abroad, I would say we are also quite unique. Because there are very few master's programs that have our same security and war studies focus. And also we just provide a very close connection to practice and to the military as well as to the defense sector, which is something that many other master programs don't really have. So we are very unique, I would say.
That's great. And what about the war studies track? What does it consist of?
So the war studies track is relatively similar to the political science track, to be fair. As Maya mentioned, several courses are in fact similar. There is just this one first course that differs substantially. So war studies track students would take a course that focuses on the use of force and the functioning of military organizations, while political science students would take a course that is more an introduction to security studies and crisis. But that aside, war studies students can actually take relatively similar courses to political science students, but the uniqueness of the war studies track is really its focus on the military and the use of force. So it provides both, when it comes to the internship and when it comes to a set of courses that are, especially devoted to that, there is really an opportunity to deepen one's knowledge about how the military works, how the responsibility to protect works in out-of-area operations, how civil-military relations are organized. So really a set of subjects that are really not usually widely studied, but that are have kept busy, generations of scholars and practitioners.
Great. So why should one study the war studies track if you're a non-military student?
Well, I think there are several reasons why that is the case. I think creating and developing a generation of students that have a very deep knowledge and expertise on defense, military, and security matters is very important to bridge what is sometimes called the civil-military gap. So I think we need to have a pool of civilian experts that really understand how the military works and that can provide advice both to the military and to the civilian decision makers. So I think the war studies track is definitely very interesting from that perspective.
Do you have a military background, Maya?
That was actually something that I wanted to add. I think FHS gives us a possibility as civilians to study a defense sector from this from the military perspective, without actually having any military training, and also having students in class who do have military training and give us completely different perspective on the theory, different theories and tactics, etc. So I think it's a very unique experience that I had, and especially being a civilian studying the war studies, it's just very great.
Sounds exciting. So could you tell me a bit more about the outline of the program? How does it work?
So it's a 2-year program that starts with a first introductory course that is, as I mentioned earlier, different for political science and war studies students. So the war studies students would take a course about the use of force and the functioning of the military, while political science students would take an introductory course on politics, security, and crisis, which is also a very important topic that is covered within the master program. After that, that covers about half the first semester. After that, there is a second course that is common for both political science and war studies students, and that is a method course, because we do believe that very sound method training is very important for prospective, for the prospective employer, and also for writing a master thesis. And so that's what. So during the second half of the first semester, that's what our students are busy with. After that, students have the opportunity to choose a very wide range of elective courses, ranging from something about security, civil military relations, and strategic decisions, to the responsibility to protect, to peacekeeping missions, to something about a course about national intelligence, to something about the European Union and crisis management. I'll stop here, and that's what the second semester keeps them busy with. And after that, and during the third semester, students read and write their master thesis. And we have very dedicated pool of supervisors that are helping and supporting the students for this independent work. And after that, there is the fourth semester, which is dedicated to an internship, where students just go out and do gain their practical experience. So that's more or less the structure. So I would say the first 2 courses in the first semester are different, but set this aside, it's a pretty unique and also unified program.
Sounds great. What about the exchange possibilities?
Well, within the master program, we try to really incentivize our students to go abroad and experience different international academic environments. So we do already have free agreements with 3 different European universities, namely St. Andrews in the UK, Sciences Po in France, and Bologna in Italy. And we are really working quite hard to expand the set of agreements that we have. For war studies students, there is also the opportunity to visit a set of military academies through these bilateral one-on-one research exchanges. And just in general, so there is this is the internationalization of our cohorts of students is something that we value very much.
Maya, what is, in your experience, the most fun or challenging part of the program?
FHS gives the students the opportunity of having an actual practical exercise, where both the word track and the political science track people come together and solve case studies for a week. We work with the different experts and professionals in the field, actually helping us. We're divided into groups, and it's a very knowledgeable experience because you actually apply the theory in practice, solving the case scenarios. For example, if one country goes to war tomorrow, what other countries in the European Union or in Asia or in US will do. So for me, it was the most fun experience, but it's also quite challenging since it's very time pressed. And also at the end, every group would have to present their presentation. So I think that was one of the most interesting experiences that I had at FHS.
Interesting. So what is the future work prospects for the students that finish this program?
So it's very many, in fact. We see that our master's students have a quite easy time to find a job after the master's program and this master's degree. So I think I would say that by and large, we see that about 1/3 of them go into maybe in the private sector, so working within the defense sector, but for private companies. Then we see that maybe a good half actually goes into government agencies and ministries, still related to foreign and defense issues. And then we have a quite good bunch. Like the remaining, I would say, the remaining 1/4 would go to. And work for non-governmental agencies, both within Sweden and abroad. And I haven't mentioned, but of course, both private and public opportunities are both in Sweden and abroad. So it's I think that we do provide this slightly more maybe practice-oriented approach. And I should also mention that really concrete opportunities for students that discover during those 2 years of studying that they absolutely love to do research and perhaps start an academic career. I think this master program also provides a good and quite solid sort of preparation and background for then applying for going for PhD programs, both at the Defense University, where we have an up and running PhD, several sets of PhD programs, and also in Sweden and abroad.
Great. If Maja is to answer the same question, what do you see for yourself in the future?
Me personally, I also see a lot of opportunities. Actually, university has a lot of informative sessions since I'm a second-year student and I'm actually going to go into internship soon. We have a lot of informative sessions. You can feel like the university is encouraging students to go mostly into the public sector, but they also have helping with students that also want to go into the private sector. Me personally would probably go for the private because during the spring semester last year, I had an elective course in intelligence, so I would love to work in data gathering and processing in terms of intelligence. I still don't know if it's going to be private or or public, but that's what I see myself in.
Sounds super cool. So lastly, why should one choose to study at the Swedish Defence University?
Well, I think the Swedish Defence University really is this very unique meeting place between the military world and the civilian world. And you have, at the same time, very committed teachers and excellent researchers, but also that are engaged in a very international academic debate, and that is combined with people with a very practical expertise that are involved via our sort of different sort of practices and games and that Maja was mentioning also, and so I think there is that there is this opportunity to really combine academic knowledge and practical knowledge, praxis and theory, which is very unique and very useful, both if you want to go into the, if you want to continue and do your PhD, but also if you just want to enter the job market. So I would say that is a very, very important point. One thing that I would also mention is in terms of its pedagogical setup, and that is perhaps particularly interesting for those that are not, for those potential prospective students that are interested in coming to Sweden. Sweden has this very unique structure where you have, in every course, you would have a lecture and a set of seminars, which is not something that, for instance, I've experienced when I was a student in France or in Italy. But it is a fantastic opportunity to attend a lecture and then have the opportunity to discuss, usually with the same teachers or sometimes another teacher, about some of the core concepts and really sort of develop this analytical thinking that helps you then navigate the world in a much more informed and smart way, I would say. So I think I think that our master program is very unique, and it also has some features that make the learning experience a very good one, I would say.
Thank you. What says it?
And I would probably highlight and underline the fact that as being a civilian, you have a possibility of actually studying war studies, right? which is, I believe, not many universities have this option. And also the fact that you have people that actually have military training working with you and giving their point of view on everything, but also the fact that what Chiara also mentioned, and I think it's very important, Sweden in general, I think, encourages a lot of analytical thinking, and the seminars here are conducted completely in a different way, encouraging really people to actually communicate and talk about different topics, which I think is very important.
I agree. Thank you.